Do galactic or cosmic bodies form simply because it's part of exactly what consciousness chooses to create in order to understand its own creation, creativeness, creativity, and createdness? So a question came to me today, and I thought I'd ask it because it made me think about, well, I was watching this clip, video, blog, whatever, by Pam Gregory. She had an interview. She interviewed, she was being interviewed by Emilio. And they were talking about, of course, astrology stuff. The one thing that came to mind was the question I had was, because she said that the planets are basically within us. Astrologically speaking, yes, that makes sense. But it's also made me think about like how real they have this influence, but it's different. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, yes, it's like part of us, but what's got me to thinking was, and I actually wrote this down because I couldn't put it into words, so I had to kind of type it and figure out what's the wording, what's the right question. So my question was, are the planets, bodies, stars, etc., all that, part of this, or is this consciousness-manifestedness? So, the one that continues to fracture because it wants to know more of itself. It's through the body. But my question is basically, are these physical manifestations of what consciousness seeks to understand of itself, because it is getting to know itself? I don't know if that makes sense. So it's almost like, do the planets form specifically because of that intention? It's almost like this manifesting thing, right? So it's interesting. So it got me to thinking, I was like, okay, because like science can't find it. At least typical physics, they can't find it, they can't prove it, because there's no proof, they said. So it's like, okay, well, what if instead, because science doesn't fully understand consciousness itself, like what its source is, like the energy behind it, why is it there, why, all that stuff, right? And that's what I was like, well, that's because, we don't understand it, so therefore we don't understand really why the planets have an effect on us, and vice versa. Or rather, it's kind of like this connection, like it's kind of like a cosmic umbilical cord that's never lost. So I'm pulling my ears because I feel like I can't really hear myself. Okay, so that was just a question I wanted to pose to you guys. If it's, I'll type it down in the comments section what that question was. And it's weird. I don't know. It was always there. We were just limited in our perception. So in other words, the higher we go, the more we perceive it, the more we will understand it. But I believe that being in 3D form limits that. But in a way, it's fun, because that means if we don't know everything, then it's like a search. It's a learning process. I'll also link the video of the interview down below. Take a look at that. But today, I wanted to look at something I've been wanting to post for a while. And it's the whole, like the alien encounters they've had on record. For those who watch Ancient Aliens, it's an interesting show. It's not your run-of-the-mill TV show like alien stuff, but it kind of plays on the stereotypes. And they've done research on it. And apparently there was one incident, I don't know, a friend told me about how they falsified evidence, or at least they were making stuff up. So I was just like, okay. I don't know, it was just weird. And then I saw one of the guests, he was a German, what's his name? He was one of the speakers there. He was one of the guests. Anyways. And I noticed he's also on Gaia TV. So I was just like, I'm not. And then, Matthias De Stefano is on Gaia. So I was just like, okay. So I kind of just trying to tie things in. I noticed certain people that are I just noticed these things and just like, what's the correlation here? So anyways, I'm going to turn on my burning a little here. There's the incense burning on this side. Whatever you hear, that's the air purifier. Sometimes it gets a little too much. The incense, when it's burning, it's too much. Okay. So the alien encounters is what I wanted to talk about. I just kind of did this research on my own, that it's like, who were there? So I did a bunch of charts, and I don't remember what I chose. I just kind of chose specific dates as old as I can, the oldest one I can, all the way up to 19th century. I didn't want to do the 20th century because I was like, okay, I get the point. But I was just kind of curious as like, who might have been around, right? So I don't know, it's just curiosity. Today's all about curiosity. So here's the chart. So the first chart here is basically dated 1561 in Nuremberg, Germany. April 14th, 1561. And as you can see here, bunch of fixed stars. The fixed stars usually, from my own discovery of fixed stars, that they are the ones that represent possibly, and also actually say what might show, like it shows what species have, like what they represent. They represent a species. So I wouldn't be surprised if the charts show certain species that were visible at that time. So in Nuremberg, this 1561 event in April, you can see right here, those are the ones that are, one of them is probably aliens from, or UFO, or galactic siblings from Betelgeuse, from a bunch of stars like Betelgeuse right here. Polaris is one of them as well. Menkar, Shedir, I don't know if those are popular, but people don't really talk about that. Usually you hear like Pleiadian stuff, like Andromeda, Arcturus, and all those are popular. But I'm just wondering about these other fixed stars. So that's for the Nuremberg one, but there was also one in April of 1897. Or did I mislead that? Okay, let's go back here. So this was Nuremberg. I think I opened more files than necessary. Okay, this one is in Basel in Switzerland. That's actually how they say it. They have this they have this channel called Tele Basel, and it's very different. Swiss German is funny. Anyways, I digress. So this was in Basel, or Basel in Switzerland, 1566, August 7. So I have my typical planets that I put in here, but I was trying to look for fixed stars that were there. I didn't want to go analyzing what happened during that day, but this is 1561, Nuremberg. Okay, so this one I chose, this is the actual analysis, and this is a chart that's showing the event chart itself. So in Nuremberg, 1561, there were a bunch of those fixed stars you saw earlier. Betelgeuse. If we look back into it, let's see what Okay. So Shadir and Hamal was in 1 degree Taurus. So those must have been the fixed stars or the aliens that came through that was visible to the people. Because here we have the moon, right? Moon was in Aries back then. So it represents the people. And it's an event chart, so naturally you're gonna see the moon as the people. And with the fixed stars in that conjunction, it's probably what they saw. We don't know. But that's what I'm seeing here. Well, the moon and the sun are in conjunction, so it looks like at that time in Nuremberg. We don't know exactly like the time, so this is an estimate. They didn't specify the time. They didn't know what time it was, so we don't have the houses. But all I see is that it might have shown up, like the government might have been able to see those. It probably was recorded through government officials, any sort of authority figure, and they probably saw it. They probably saw it like right away because it was in Aries. There must have been some sort of like action taken towards that. So that one was that's probably an easy one. We do have it 1 degree. Oh, it's not even Aries, so it's in Taurus. So the people must have seen it through like in the field and like big crops in area where farms are, those kind of things. Anywhere there's a sort of like any sort of house, it was probably seen by those, because it's in Taurus. So Hamal, Shadir, conjunct sun and moon and sun, with the sun conjunct Jupiter. So, at that time already, if you took out the fixed stars, this would mean that the people were already, there was something expanding that time. I think they were, I don't know. But this isn't about the actual place itself, like what's happening at that time. I was looking at this from specifically like which species actually arrived, or I want to say actually, because I feel like that's what it is. But there's no such thing as coincidence. So whatever the chart shows will probably show that maybe it's related to those aliens. At the very least, when it comes to people seeing it, we're looking at this placement right here. Any other places, like for example, let's take a look here. So I crammed it all in pretty much. Oh, here you go. So 22, 22, 18, 16, 15. Okay, so right here, there might have been like old places where it was entertainment. Anything to do with entertainment, any sort of like probably, I don't know, maybe bars at that time. I'm not really sure. Something to do with leisure, but also for like traditional forms, or like maybe for older people. I don't know. It's saying Saturn here. That might have been that itself. Now I could do I could try to do a channeling today. I didn't get to, because I didn't plan on doing that. I just wanted to look at the charts today, but maybe I will. I haven't gone to the point where I'm going to look back into history. That I haven't gone that far. I'm able to now see, if I focus and I ask and I receive downloads, it's more like my past life or somebody else's past life, people I'm connecting with. But this is a whole event. This is like, way back then. What is it, 500 years ago? 400 something years ago. So this will be kind of a little challenging for me right now. So, but I can see, so Polaris and Betelgeuse must have been there. They must have seen that. If they didn't see it, then that's fine. I mean, they didn't see that. That's the whole point. A bunch of other ones here. So you probably see here that maybe anywhere there's like some sort of media, or not exactly media at that time, maybe in the local, maybe gossip areas, places of communication where they gave speeches. I don't know. Could be in any sort of oratory sort of place. I don't know if that makes sense. Prisons, any sort of jail cells, they might have seen these. So these are the places most likely that they could have been seen. These other aliens. So Mercury is there, Neptune. Let's take a look at the other chart here. They could have seen it also in places where they had music, places where probably are just around nature as well, because core is right here. Okay. Oops. Courthouses, maybe? I'm not sure. You could have seen that then. Again, that's that 11 degrees, series 11 degrees could also be the farmlands, crops. So that must have been common. So let's take a look at the other event here. I'm going to go up this time on the side here. 1566. Oops. 1566 in Basel. Okay. So this one's the actual chart event. I just want to go into... Okay, so we see here. So they might have seen Menkar. Menkar's, I don't know. They didn't know, obviously they didn't know who it was. But it could have been that Menkarians were seen by the people. Oops. Keep going back to that one. Sorry. In old places, in old like traditional places, anything to do with let me go back here. So Saturn is always about places like old people stuff. Sorry to say that in that way. Let me go back here. Okay. So Saturn represents the places that are where Saturn would be: churchyards, coal pits, sinks, wells, muddy places, institutions, churches, of course, or churchyards. More like, not necessarily churches, because that's more of a Jupiter thing, but churchyards around it. So anything to do with the past, anything to do with conservation, boundaries, that is for sure Saturn. But it still has to do with religion as well. Not directly religion, not the dogma of religion, but more like the preservation of that, or at least the conservation or the long-lasting effects of religion. That's also Saturn. Deserts is part of that as well. In the woods, so valleys, caves, public buildings, certain workplaces. Like if this was the 16th century, this was already past, I believe, fiefdom, or the whole peasantry sort of knighthood times. So this was already a time of the Baroque era in music. So that means that it was already, Enlightenment was already on its way. Enlightenment. But anyway, so this is probably what they saw. But with this tube one right here, that's a big one. I saw this one earlier and it was like, oh, Tuban could have been seen, maybe places that were visited where those churchyards, any sort of land, anything to do with Saturn, any place related to that. Like I said, churchyards, valleys, woods, deserts. If there was tragedy, then it says large-scale tragedies. If there was an epidemic, then maybe that was probably one of the reasons. And a Tuban is a draconian fixed star. But let's not conclude the fact that just because it's draconians, that doesn't mean that they were these bad. Most of them have turned. Most of them really, turned. They went to the dark side. They basically did that. So it's not a surprise that it's conjunct Saturn, but we don't know. We don't know exactly what happened. But we do have a conjunction where the Sun conjunct Tuban Saturn. So it could have been also in the seats of government at that time. Could have been seen by them, or they were part of that. We don't know. There was also Regulus. But Regulus also represents one of the archangels. But Regulus is from the constellation. I don't know much about the aliens. I'm just saying this is what I've seen. I'm still getting to know some of the fixed stars, like where they're from, because my focus has been on asteroids. Let's see. These ones not really sure. If anything, this could be like, because it's only conjunct the North Node, or at that time. I'm not sure. It could have been seen. Probably being like sewers, mortuaries, places of dead. If there was an epidemic, or that's also part of that. But it's a trine, so I wouldn't go with trines. It could be possible with trines. I would go with conjunctions more. But that's what I chose to do. Sirius, from the planets of Sirius, and a star from the Sirius stars, and from Canopus. Okay, so again, might have been seen. What's Venus? I know it's places of entertainment, but it's more than that. Here we go. So any places, I'm thinking of the places that they could have had back then, the types of venues, like the Venusian stuff, Venusian places. What is a Venusian place in the 16th century? Places for artists, like theaters. I can't think of any. Courtyard performances. I don't know. All I can think of is if they had galleries back then, great. If they had like these music halls, maybe. Banquet houses, I'm not sure back then. Gardens, that's a possibility. There were most likely gardens back then. Any place of relaxation and leisure and sensuality. I'm not sure. Okay. Let's see. We have Vesta there conjunct Venus. So they could have also appeared in like near fireplaces, like where there's a lot of places of worship. I'm not sure. Places of not exactly worship, but like pagan worship, possibly. Any sort of hearth, any sort of fireplace. I'm not sure. You also have Pallas Athena, so that could also mean like, could be the battlefield, or places where they do weaving, places where there's a lot of connection going on. Maybe like people, I don't know, because it has something to do with weaving, like in loom, like rooms where they have looms. I don't know what those are called. So yeah, it could have been those other places as well. With the moon, right? Menkar was probably a star, but that people saw. With Eris there, it could also mean like, yeah, anywhere there was chaos. or rather people feeling internal chaos at that time. Maybe they got distraught and then they became more, I don't know. I'm just like literally, I know it sounds like I'm spitballing here, but it could be anything, really. So, like I said, this is just a day of curiosity. Okay, so there's that, and then there's that. Now let's go to the other chart. Let's see what we have here. So this is going to be in Korea. So in South Korea, what I saw here was Ptolemy close to the moon. It's actually in perfect conjunction. Almost perfect conjunction, but pretty much. 24, 19 minutes, 34 seconds. 34 minutes difference. So about 20, 10 something. Less than 10. A little bit more than 10, sorry. Yeah. So Ptolemy there is also, I believe, Ptolemy in my chart. I think that's the one that's sorry, I lost my train of thought. Hadar. I'm not sure if Ptolemy's Hadar. I'm not sure anymore. But that's one of the... Ptolemy was from... What chart was that? I mean, what... yeah, I don't remember. So if you're familiar with Ptolemy, if you know what, I'm just going to look it up. I'm going to look it up. So Ptolemy was Alpha Centauri. I keep mixing it up with, for some reason, Hadar. But it's not. It's Alpha Centauri. So this was probably what they saw. Okay. So whatever they witnessed at that time, at least, again, this is still with the people. The government or governing bodies and leaders probably saw something else. What is that? Diadem, like the crown. But I don't know. It's the fixed star. It's called diadem. Or at the very least, children probably saw diadems, or siblings, people in like certain neighbors. It was probably happening around neighborhoods, especially in Libra. It's probably about people in specific like groups, not necessarily like a group setting, but yeah. Let's see what the other chart had to say about that. No. Oh, it could also again appear in farms as well. See more farms. Alright. Ceres also conjunct. Soccer Ceres here is pretty much like 1 minute in perfect conjunction with Ptolemy. So it could have been seen by the people in farming areas. What's this square here? What would that signify? Not much. I don't know. Might have been seen as something dangerous. Might have been seen as something like they were panicking probably. They were getting all this information, said that they were in retrograde, but they weren't sure what to do with it. And they were just like kind of freaked out maybe. I'm not really sure. It's in 28 degrees Aquarius, so it must have been like chaotic. But they probably felt like it was very distrustful about what they saw because of the Scorpio placement here. But there's also square to Venus, so that means that it was also... Is that even square? That is square. That's interesting. Why is that square? Yeah, it is square. They might have seen that as something like they couldn't relate with. I'm looking at other things here. Okay. That's the one in South Korea, or that's one in Korea but at that time. Let's take a look at this one. This was in Japan. So let's look at this one. Well, that's weird. February 22, March 24, February 22. Okay. It opened up in a weird way. Okay. So the government could have seen this one right here. I don't know what that is. Akamar. And they probably also saw Deneb adage. Okay, I don't know what that is. Right here. Again, with places of Saturn, anything belonging to Saturn, like, churches. Let's just go with churches there. But churchyards around that area, woods, valleys, they probably have seen that. There were probably sightings there. Here, there were probably sightings in like tall buildings, castles, because it is still the sun. It's kind of similar to as before, but it's like people in authority figures, people in higher position probably saw it. So people probably didn't see it. There were probably no witnesses, like from the people. I'm not really sure. But this Deneb right here, this is the other Dene. What is it called? Denebola. I don't know which one that is. Pisces? Deneb. That's. That is Deneb Adage, whatever that is. Okay, it might have been seen in prisons or places of isolation. Underground sightings, possibly. I'm not sure. But they did usually see this as like UFO, because they're UFO, that means it's up there. But yeah, so the government could have seen this one. Akamar is probably what they saw. If not Denebola, this one right here. I'm not sure. Was that the one? So the sun was in 14 degrees Pisces. Akamar was there too. Might have been seen in the seas as well, the oceans, because their Sedna is involved with water. Okay. Now we go into the March one, still in Japan. Very similar. This is in March. Let's see what the March one has. This is February. Let's go with right here. Yeah. Still about the same. But in this case, now probably the government saw this. I think this is Alfred. Alpharats. Okay. Could have seen Alpharats there. And they probably a very unexpected sighting because of Uranus right here. Maybe internalized, maybe kind of, it was like information that was kept from people. So I heard that Uranus has something to do also with conservatism a little bit. That's weird to me, but it's that's what I heard. But I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. They could have been a little bit scared and protective about the whole thing, so they probably didn't do much about it. But they did try to preserve not only maybe the information, but preserve the people. Because the moon rules Cancer, and that's Mars, so they took action towards that. Because they must have been like very... I was like, what the heck is going on here? Even if it's not about the UFOs, it's probably what's happening anyways. So we have this Alpha sighting, and probably what people and governments or higher authority figures, any sort of like, that kind of government stuff. Could also be in the arts. Could have also been seen where there was like dancing, because there's still music that still ties in with Sun. Sun rules Leo. But it could also have been places where there was war going on because of Mars, and because Mars rules Aries here and Mars rules the Sun here. Therefore, Mars rules Alpha Rats. So it might have been in time when, what was this, 1803? I'm not sure exactly. I don't know the specifics. But if there was like fighting going on, then that's probably also when they saw these sightings. Akimar here is in conjunct. Is conjunct to... No, it's not. It's conjunct Pluto. So any sort of places of isolation. Again, let me go specify on that. Pluto is... Yeah, so any sort of underground, organized crime. Some dark places, hidden places, dark places, drains, cesspits, sewers. But that time they probably didn't have radioactive stuff. But wherever it could have been, yeah, there might have been radioactive increase in that regard when they saw Akimar. I don't know if the ships had that, if they gave off radiation. I'm not sure. Dene, still same place. Valleys, woods, forests, churchyards, places of worship or old stuff, traditional places that represent tradition. Okay. Let's go here. There was another sighting, but I'm going to skip that one. Maybe that was the same one. Okay, here we go. So we have here Mexico and Zacatecas. Let's see. This is where the fixed stars are. Okay. So I usually try to go to where the sun is. Okay, so they saw, okay, government, places of, again, government, places of leisure combined. I don't know if that, like, government owns... Oh, okay, it's not even. Oh, it's just, no, places of leisure. So, yeah, so entertainment, theaters. Most likely at that time, maybe they had theaters, but close to theaters, or people saw it in general. Any places where relationships are involved. Anything where there's any sort of like not only pleasurable things like food, but also like jewelry is probably there. Any sort of like places where. So I'm talking about the visibility, the sightings themselves, where they could have taken place. Again, I'm not sure. Again, sounds like I'm spitballing here, but I think this is for me interesting because it's like, I don't know. So they have what is that one? Dubai, I don't know how to pronounce that one. But anyway, so there's that. So that's probably the sighting that people saw. I don't know. I usually go to the moon. We do have the moon here. Okay. Sort of perfect conjunction here. Says that was Antares. So anything that the people saw could have been Antares, the fixed star, and the people, the races, species from Antares. Is there anything conjunct moon, opposite of the moon? Might have been later realized by... Actually, let's go back to that. Because it's opposite... The moon was opposite... Chiron. Oh, they probably also Aldebaran. Okay, from that fixed star. I'm not really sure. The opposition, I find it's not, I don't know what that would mean. I feel like the opposition has something to do with a later realization, possibly. I'm not sure. And yeah, Antares is probably visible, is what they, or rather what they saw, because we're talking about the moon, right? So, okay, let's take a look. Anything else? San Francisco. So now we're going into late 19th century San Francisco. Right here. You had the moon conjunct Mirach, whatever. So the people might have seen. This is the aliens that they probably saw. Possibly also saw acumen, which is more with the people, or they probably saw in places where they had back then. Already 1896 was the year. Was in 1896, right? Yeah, this was the year when the Olympics was founded. So I wouldn't be surprised if this took place in San Francisco, then maybe sports facilities already, that's a Sagittarius, is already available. Any sort of active place, any sort of something to do with horses, archery. So they might have seen that already. That's leisure. That's sort of relaxing. Golf probably is included here because it's aiming. Yeah, I would probably include that. Any sort of sports or leisure activity, but specifically because of Venus. But mainly it's the people who saw this. This is about the people, moon, right? If anything, the government saw, again, Ptolemy right here, which is interesting. And it was unexpected because you probably also saw Agena. Agena is the one that I believe is Hadar. Sometimes I confuse Ptolemy and Agena. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure. But it could be one of them. So, but Hadar was already, Hadar exploded before. So there was basically nothing left. But if anything, I don't know. I'm really not sure. I've never actually done any channeling. Like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, I haven't done any channeling outside of personal channeling, like mediumship. Well, specifically, it's just mediumship. So yeah, that's probably what they saw, and it was unexpected. Yeah, and you're probably kind of defensive about it, and there's a Scorpio there, so I don't know. Okay, so let's go to now this is in Texas, 1897, just a year after. And then let's go to this chart. Here we go. 87 people saw probably alpha rats and a crux. Okay. Ptolemy was still there. Okay. But it was sort of like random, unexpected sights because of Uranus there. It was more like maybe personal, in private, probably personal sightings, not exactly like public. If anything was public, is Mirach as well. And Menkar, no, just Mirach was seen most of the time. Could also have been seen in near hospitals because you have Chiron conjunct the moon. Right? I forgot to mention that. Yeah. Chiron conjunct the moon. Let's take a look. What else? Menkar could have been seen as well. Menkarians could have been seen through any sort of journalism sites, like, I don't know, where they printed newspaper. Back then it was probably already common. 1897, yeah. Okay, good. So I think that's it. Those are all the charts that I've gone through and I wanted to go through. And yeah, I wanted to kind of see what else is happening, but I just wanted to do that one. So if you have any questions or comments regarding the question I asked in the beginning, by all means go ahead. This is all about just a curiosity sort of post. So anyways, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.